Hi everyone, this is John, your horticulturist, and we're talking today about drought tolerant and drought resistant plants that are also low maintenance. So in this median here we have your aloe plants, which are succulent, and these are really beautiful. They're flowering right now. This is their time to do their thing. We have your senecio, which is like a succulent ground cover. So these would be really drought resistant plants because they are desert plants. They're used to getting very little water. These plants would need to be watered probably 2 to 3 times in the summer and possibly like one to 2 times a month in the winter. So they still need some amount of water. You can't completely starve them because they're not in their natural environment. Here's another plant. This is a grass-like plant. This is called variegated dianella. So this is a drought resistant plant, meaning that it doesn't need a lot of water, but it still needs regular watering, which might mean twice a week in the winter and maybe 4 to 5 times in the hot months. They can do with less water, but the plant will not look as well as it does here because these are getting good regular water. So your plant will tend to look more faded, more brown, not as healthy, but probably won't die if you give it less water. Most of these plants need 1 to 2 years to really establish. So they're gonna need good consistent watering until that point. At that point, you can start to pull back, especially in the winter, especially if we have rain, if we have a lot of cool overcast weather, then that really helps them to use less water and you can save on the water costs at that time.
Would you say that for the first 2 years, they're not exactly saving that much water?
Yes, they're not till they establish.
Gotcha.
So they're not saving you a lot at that point, but the savings will come if you can reduce the amount of plants. For instance, in this planter, if we had maybe at each end of the planter in this area, instead of using this material, just maybe use like a cap of nice type ornamental boulders, rocks, and then maybe move this planting back to here to the first tree, eliminating 5% of the planter, and done the same thing on the other side. We would have reduced 10% of the total volume of plant material in this planter. That would have been the savings right there. Callistemon, or Little John as it's called, and this is another drought resistant plant. It's a low maintenance plant. It's very low growing. It's very slow growing and gets a nice bloom. And here again, once established, this plant can go 1 to 2 times a month in the winter and possibly 3 to 4 times plus in the hot summer months. Here we have our ground cover, succulent ground cover, senecio. And here we have aloe. Here we have variegated dianella. Here we have callistemon, or Little John. And that's our type of plant material in here.